Here we are. Left brain, right brain. How to build a strong LinkedIn profile and stand out in a crowded market. This is the template that I use when I'm consulting with businesses or individuals, right? I mentor a lot, I coach. This is the framework that I use to help build out people's LinkedIn profiles. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing today is walking you through these 5 pieces. We're going to start with why, then we're going to roll into the strategy, how are you going to be able to use the strategy, and then for the more 201, 301 courses, how to become a top voice on LinkedIn, which is something that LinkedIn is integrating now. And then also the 5th piece is going to be a reference list plus. So there's a couple of documents and templates that I can show you that I use as well. So this will be kind of the flow. There's a lot of content, right? What did I say? It's 28 slides. Here we go. So why LinkedIn? I believe LinkedIn is one of the most powerful social networking sites on the internet, right? 930 million members. Around 200 million of them are in the US alone, okay? 141 million of those US members use the platform every day. So this is showing you that there is a very large following for LinkedIn. The 3rd piece is members of LinkedIn. I found this metric really interesting. They have 2 times the buying power of the average online audience, all right? The average median income is $75,000 for a LinkedIn person. So you think about different channels that you're advertising on, this is proving that there's just more money on LinkedIn, okay? So it's important to think about if you're B2B or if you're B2C or if you're just a personal person trying to find a job through LinkedIn, okay? The 4th piece is 57 million businesses are listed on LinkedIn right now. As an individual contributor, this is kind of a 2-point stat, right? 57 million companies on LinkedIn, 334 million worldwide. So I like to think of this, if you're an individual contributor looking for a job, there's 57 million companies that you could apply to, potentially. Out of the world, 334 million companies, the second part of that stat, if you are a business thinking of advertising on LinkedIn, that ratio to me is pretty great. You start drilling down into your niche and what you actually do, you're going to find that you're actually you can be one of the top companies on LinkedIn fairly easily, okay? So that's why LinkedIn. Why do your pages matter on LinkedIn? One of the most important pieces that I consult with, especially with businesses, 96% of B2B marketers are using LinkedIn for organic social growth, which means they are not paying for advertising. They are pushing things out to a feed, an audience is listening to them, and they're building things with that. 96%, okay? So if you're a B2B business and you're not using this, you're 4% of the world, right? Which I think is a fascinating stat. Companies with complete and active pages have far more engagement. If they are complete and they are active, meaning that they post regularly and interact with their audience members, they get on average 7 times the impressions, 5 times more audience actions, and 11 more clicks per follower. That is crazy to me. That's the algorithm feeding businesses to be really great at what they do on LinkedIn, okay? I don't think those are stats that I ignore anyway when I'm consulting with people. More stats. 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn are proven to be, they drive decisions, right? So they're decision makers in an organization that can approve budgets, can approve your work, can get you into that company, okay? So what I'm trying to share with you is this is all a mindset, right? LinkedIn, to me, is one of the most important profiles out there because it is one of the largest professional social networks in existence, okay? So what does that mean for you? Distilled down as neatly and tightly as possible, free leads, right? Free leads, free leads, free leads, free leads. That's what this means. You're doing all of the work that you're doing for other social channels, but with far better results, okay? Is anybody not convinced about LinkedIn? Yeah? Mandalorian? This is the way? Okay, it's for my nerds. Okay, so a quick poll. I would love to learn, by raising your hand here, who is looking to learn or boost their personal profile? Anybody? Their personal LinkedIn profile, right? So you as an individual on LinkedIn. Okay, great. How many people are looking to boost their business profile? Great, a lot more. That's fantastic. Okay. The unique piece about all of this that I'm going to teach you, my strategy, it's all the same, which is really great. I try to keep it as simple as possible to deliver results. Okay? So, jumping into the strategy. This is my perception and what I have built, right? I truly believe when I'm consulting with clients, it is truly all about marketing. And the way that I define marketing is the way the internet defines marketing, through Wikipedia. The process of exploring, creating, delivering value that meets the needs of a target market in goods and services, right? The cast all net. If you're thinking about marketing or you're thinking about yourself, personal branding, business branding, whatever it is, it's always about marketing. You're always trying to prove to somebody else why you are the authority in your space. This is how you're going to get there and prove yourself as an authority and building a belief system for your audience, okay? I'll kind of break it down for you here a little bit too. So my theory and my strategy here is based on marketing, right? I am a marketing consultant. I have experience in marketing. I'm a business consultant. I truly believe that this is the way. This is the old belief of marketing, right? It used to be, not even a few years ago, for half a century, that advertisers believed this was the process. You are presented with a company stimulus from a company, an advertisement, a social post, a video, a webinar, whatever that is, that hook. You travel down to this ambiguous area and then you convert to a point of sale. This is what we call the first moment of truth as a marketer, okay? This is the first moment of truth is point 1 to point 2. And then after that, there's a second moment of truth called the experience, okay? This was Bible for advertisers for half a century. This is the way to figure out how to convert customers. I'm not explaining anything new, I hope, to anybody here. This is the new rule, okay? So this is where we're gonna divert a little bit. Essentially, Google, you're familiar with Google, I hope. I have a stat, 8.5 billion searches every day on Google. That's crazy. About 99,000 per second is essentially what that works up to. So Google, obviously fascinated with user experience, fascinated with tracking people. They had spent years wanting to understand this point right here, this black piece. Because prior, in the old rule, nobody was really tracking how you got from point 1 to point 2, right? So you would send things out, you would talk to people, you would send out your salespeople, have conversations, those kinds of things. And you could build structure around those things. Google wanted to figure out specifically what the customer journey was in a definitive way. So they started analyzing that point A to B, okay? That point 1 to point 2. What they were discovering was that as customers were engaging with brands, Google is tracking you with cookies, right? They're tracking all of your things. So what they're understanding is that it's actually not point A to point B. It's actually a lot of different pieces in between, right? All of these different things can represent different pieces of collateral or different reach outs or strategy, whatever that looks like, right? So this is essentially how you hear of the brand. Then you start, and I want you to think about this as yourself, right? You start thinking about the brand. They pop up in a social feed. They pop up in an advertisement. Here's an event that you went to where they were a sponsor that they got back into your head. Then you subscribe to their newsletter, right? Like this could be any of those touch points, okay? Google was fascinated to understand this is actually the biggest point of sale for a customer here, okay? They actually wrote it as the zero moment of truth, redefining what we thought was advertising, right? And they call it the 7-11-4 rule. Cut off down here, but it's in the slide, I promise. So the 7-11-4 rule is something that I talk to my clients about all the time when I'm consulting with them, okay? I'm gonna explain that a little bit later. I don't wanna bore you with it right now because of time, right? But know that this is essentially where my strategy was based out of, okay? Just a quick recap, the 7-11-4 rule says that there is actually 7 hours of interaction across 11 different touch points in 4 different locations for a customer to commit to buy from you. All right, so that blew the doors off of what we thought originally was advertising, okay? So that's just a little recap, and I'm gonna follow up on that later. Everybody cool? I know I'm flying, but I got a lot of stuff. Okay, so for these next two slides, I want you to think about that strategy, right? And I want you to envision yourself as a decision maker and a customer, okay? This is the framework that I had noticed throughout my years as a recruiter, as a creative recruiter, as a tech recruiter, as a consultant, all of those things, right? The framework is this. The decision maker, whether it is a personal or business profile, right? There are 3 steps that a decision maker works through. The first step, in my experience, is to identify what it is that you need. And through your process, the decision maker is going to identify your fit for them. So they're going to ask you questions, very, very pertinent questions that you need to have ready to answer. Why should I hire you? Can I trust you? What have you done to show me that you can fix my problems, right? It's a very selfish way to think about this, but it also gets you to the quickest answer, too. If you envision yourself as a decision maker, you can cross off all of these things and answer questions confidently if you practice, right? So, and do you know what you're talking about? That's what essentially this is all about, right? You're trying to build your authority, build a belief system for people to buy into what it is that you do, okay? The second piece that they're going to do is they're going to research, right? So they're going to ask similar questions to other groups who proving or disproving that you're actually the person that can help them. And then one of the biggest pieces that I learned in developing this framework, the majority of business decision makers don't have a lot of time, right? They're pulled in a lot of different directions, but they always know what they want. And they want you to make them feel something, okay? So those are the big pieces. When you're talking about getting to know, like, and trust somebody, which we talked about in that last event, these are the integral pieces that you're connecting those dots with for that decision maker to make a confident decision in you, okay? And then the third piece in this little framework here is to present and test. So they're going to identify, they're going to research, and then if you make it through these first 2 buckets, they're going to come over here to the present and test side where they're going to be ranking you, they're going to debate your experience, and they're going to decide based on a pool of people that they're looking at, right? This is the decision maker's process that I've honed over thousands of interviews, thousands of candidates, those kinds of things in my recruiting experience. Now, from an audience standpoint, this is more business consulting, right? So same structure though, okay? You're just shifting the questions. Why should I believe in you as a business, right? Can I trust your business? What have you done to show me that you can make something better for me? As a customer, that's what we're all looking for, right? Looking for something faster, something better, something bigger, whatever it is. The second piece, when they're researching, they're going to discover your brand in multiple places, right? This is the 7-11-4. So they're going to look for you around. They're going to verify your belief system through the resources that you are providing as a business. And they're going to read and research those viewpoints, the reviews, the products, the competitors' offerings, the sales, the features. All of those things go into the 7-11-4. Okay, so that's a big piece of that. And then after that, they're still going to do the tests, right? They're going to join your group. They're going to lurk, right? That's one of my favorite things to do. Join a group and then lurk in it. See what people are talking about. See if you can relate to them and be a part of their belief system, right? So they're going to rank you. They're going to look at other places. They're going to look at other groups. They're going to debate about why you are the best fit for them. And then they're eventually going to buy into your product or belief, hopefully, right? And then the final piece is a review. Hopefully, a good one, right? I don't see too many confused faces. I think we're cruising. Okay, cool. So the next piece, how can I use this, right? All of that sounds great. Structure sounds good, whatever. I want to use this for myself. This is how you're going to use it yourself, as far as I'm concerned. How you're going to make yourself seen on LinkedIn. Using the same process, the same framework. Essentially what you're doing is answering the questions that we've established from the other 2 scenarios. As a decision maker or as a business, you're going to answer these pieces. What makes you the best at what it is that you do? And this is a lot of self-discovery and a lot of questions, right? You get pretty personal with that one, or I do at least when I'm consulting with people. You're going to ask, how are you going to be able to solve your client's problem, your target audience? Ideally, you already have all those things set up. You know who you're going to go after. You know who you're going to interact with. You're going to try to figure out how you're going to be able to solve their problem specifically. And then what you're going to do is you're going to give examples because that's what they're going to be asking for. That's one of the first questions when I'm talking to decision makers or talking to businesses. Give me examples. Show me why this works for other people. And then one of the big pieces that I always like to talk to people about, I want to make you feel like you are needed by this client, that they can't live without you, right? So these are the processes to identify those things for your customers. In the research phase, right, once you have all of these pieces lined out, then you break out the research. And this is one of my favorite parts when I'm consulting with a business. What do you call it? Can you test it? Can you test names? Can you test the service? Can you test the process? Who else does this? Because if you're doing the same thing as everybody else, you're getting lost in that noise, right? It's an ocean of noise. So how are you compared to your competitors? This is a benchmark, right? We call it digital benchmarking in marketing. You're comparing yourself to other people and identifying the strengths and weaknesses that can help you pull out a minimum viable product, okay, an MVP. How do I do it the same as those people? You want to understand your competitors so that you can differentiate, right? Because that's what it's about these days. How do you do it differently? And then where's my value or MVP? Those are the biggest pieces that, in my understanding of consulting and what I've been doing with people, that's where you win the customer, right here. Where's your value? And then what you're going to be doing is, after you establish all of these pieces, you're going to present these and you're going to get out there and you're going to start experimenting with them. This is also a very big piece that I do with a lot of clients. Create some star stories, okay? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Create case studies with metrics, vitally important, especially as a recruiter. I want to be able to know you can step into my position and you're going to be able to knock it out of the park with as little touching from me as possible or guidance from me, okay? Reviews, great way to build social proof. I'm hoping a lot of you, I was speaking with some of you, you're building reviews, which is great. Never stop. Grind to get reviews all of the time. If you can't get business, I consult with people on go do something for free and work that into the package, right? If you're trying to prove that your business is working and you don't have social proof yet, go out to somebody and say, here, I want to do this for you. I would just love a review for this and have that relationship being built, okay? 99% of the time, they're going to come back to you, Jason. And then developing support collateral is also really important as well. Ammunition, right? I consider it ammunition. As a recruiter, as a business, whatever that is, you are giving ammunition for a company to say yes, or a person to say yes, and that's all you're looking for. You can also build some blogs, right? I think that's a really great way to test, especially in WordPress. You can track all of the engagement, all of those kinds of things, comments, interact with your audience, those things. Cool? Now we're going to get into depth, okay? Using my own profile, not Jason's, I wanted to show you what I look for as a recruiter in tech and creative, and also just as an entrepreneur, okay? These are the most important pieces that I see when I open a person's profile. If you don't have an engaging headshot, I'm sorry, I feel like that's a really low bar. I feel like an engaging headshot is one of the easiest things that you could possibly do. A colorful one that's inviting, that shows that you're friendly and approachable, okay? The second piece is a related background image that relates to your profession or your business, or whatever that is, right? What we're trying to do here through the 7-11-4 rule is to create a long line of people to consume your content, right? This is where it starts. You have to get your logo out there. You get the little things that make your business unique, right? You explain to them in as short as words as possible what it is that you're doing to help them, right? A third piece, and this is kind of controversial. Curious in the Q&A section how you all feel about this. An engaging headline. Lots of people just say software engineer, real estate agent, project manager, those kinds of things. I truly believe this is where there's a lot of potential for people to capitalize on in LinkedIn. Not a lot of people are doing this right now. Again, if you're trying to differentiate yourself from your competition and everybody else, come up with a catchy headline. It's fantastic. It works, okay? One of the other pieces that it's not even in this presentation, it'll be on the video. This piece right here, I think it's up to 130 characters, is visible when you're commenting on somebody's post, right? So if you're going out and engaging with your audience, your profile picture comes up as in the comment, your name, and then approximately, I think it's 130 characters. Don't quote me on that. But when I comment on posts, they will be able to read this entire piece. And to me, that's a hook right there. This is showing people that I'm engaging with audiences. When I'm commenting thoughtfully and giving my perspective, and then showing them the social proof, hopefully engaging them enough where they want to click on my profile. That's the goal to me of a headline, is to get people to learn more, okay? And then the fourth piece, creator mode. I think this is vital as well. As an individual contributor or business, turning on creator mode is one of the best things that you can do for your profile right out of the gate. It gives you additional metrics to follow and to analyze. It allows you to hashtag, and also LinkedIn will populate this piece here too in your profile automatically. So when somebody clicks on your profile, they automatically know what you're going to talk about in the first 3 lines, which is fantastic, right? Because you're trying to connect those dots and make it as easy as possible for somebody to say yes. So creator mode is great. There's plenty of other things that it's going to do for you, but highly recommend turning on creator mode. Okay, so wanting to talk about, that was my personal profile, right? This is my business profile. You're seeing the synchronicity between the two, I hope, right? Profile picture of my business, obviously professional, cropped correctly, good colors, those kinds of things. Matching background, so that if somebody clicks on my profile and clicks on this business, they're, oh, these guys go together, right? And then the third piece is my headline. Is just a little bit longer because I help explain a little bit more my business profile, specifically what it is that I'm doing. Process development and strategy for companies, okay? So it's just expanding on that headline for my personal profile. So creating synchronicity and consistency between your pages, I believe, is really vital. Okay, moving down the list on your profile, okay? Have people heard of the featured section before? Just quick poll. Great, not many, wonderful. So this, I believe, is on the structure of this, right? I'm just working down the LinkedIn profile. So right below my headline is the featured section, if you have it enabled. I would say this is one of the top 3 things you should do after this meeting. Go enable the featured section. These are the pieces that you could post in your featured section, right? Essentially what this is doing is showing recruiters, showing customers, showing anybody who's looking at your profile where your proficiencies are. This is your spot to brag, okay? So showing, highlighting the things in your career that you're really, really good at is what you should feature just right here. And this is right below your profile picture, okay? Super important. I've recently won some awards from mentoring right in front, right? Because I want to show my potential leads and clients that I'm really great with team building and leadership and things like that. So I wanted to show those pieces. There's a case study right there of a client that I worked with, so that if you're thinking of me for a consulting position, that's going to show up right away for you. There's more case studies down the road. You can see, you can scroll. But featured section, extremely important. LinkedIn focuses on it on a profile for a reason. Build a featured section if you want to develop an audience, okay? Cruising down, right below the featured section, the about section, right? To me, when I'm consulting with clients and people, this is your space to make it fun. This is your place to use keywords. This is your place to grab somebody's attention. If I'm presenting to a hiring manager, either an individual contributor position or a consultancy or a business, whatever it is, I am presenting a lot of this. This is your recap for anybody who's looking to hire you, why you would be a good fit for them, right? So be fun. Make it funny. Make it quirky. Be confident, right? Obviously, we're not going to go through it, but it's here in the presentation if you want to read it. A pro tip for everybody here too, artificial intelligence, right? If you hate writing, me. If you suffer from imposter syndrome, me. If you don't feel creative to write, use AI. Give it a try. And I'm going to show you a template on how you can utilize AI to create literally this about section, okay? It's a secret. This was AI generated because I would never have the courage to write those confident things. So give it a try. As you're scrolling down, we open up the experiences, right? Everybody's seen this page before. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that I, as a recruiter, look out for, and as a consultant. real titles. I always see fluffy titles on LinkedIn. I think that's one of the quickest ways for you to get knocked out of my consideration is if you have a fluffy title or one that doesn't correlate to the job description down here, okay? And this is sort of a 101 thing, but wanted to make sure that I mentioned it for anybody who is curious about it. Including links can be a great way for you to advertise additional pieces of collateral, right? So you click this, see I'm a founder for my consultancy here, put a link here that is the website. So making it, again, as easy as possible for somebody to just find me and contact me. Also the skills section as well. This is a relatively newer feature from LinkedIn, but you can directly link your skills at the bottom of your page to your projects and what you've been working on. So this is more of an individual contributor metric, or maybe if you're a coach or a consultant, something like that. Highlighting your skills in this, I think, is a great way to, again, advertise your strengths and relate it to specifically that project, which could be a really powerful tool. Okay? Still cruising, not a lot of confusion, it's good, or faces anyway. So, from before, this is an example when you see more on that page, on your profile page, this would expand into the specific case study, right? Which is how I've built out all of my experiences. I use the STAR methodology. It's a very popular interviewing tool, and I highly recommend it for everybody to practice and get really, really good at this, because this is how you're going to be talking about your projects if you want to be able to rattle them off quickly and rehearse, right? So the STAR methodology stands for situation, task, action, and result. This is really, really popular through recruiting, through consulting, through coaching, all of those things. You're taking your experience and you're distilling it down into those 4 pieces. So I'm describing the situation, why I am here in the first place. I'm showing the task, what I was supposed to be doing in that time. I showed the actions of what the task was working itself into and how I was going to deliver value to this company. And then I show the results, right? So what you're doing is you're essentially taking your experience and saying, boom, 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 boom. This is why you should hire me. That's it. And then you can do this through every one of your experiences. And I promise you, it'll eliminate a lot of questions for people who are coming to you for consulting or whatever that looks like, okay? Because you're giving them everything that they need to make an informed decision on their own. I do see a lot of disconnect with that as well, too, by the way. They're kind of truncated in how they explain their experiences. And a lot of it's just trying to work it out, right? It's a hard process, I admit that for sure. One of the other pieces here, very, very vital, creating synchronicity again, right? So a very common thing that I saw a lot in recruiting, people will update their experience on LinkedIn, but they'll forget to update their experience on the resume, or vice versa, right? One of the easiest ways to get kicked out of consideration for anything is to have those gaps. I've experienced it too many times. Even when I tell candidates, make sure they're consistent. They still aren't consistent, and that will get you eliminated, right? Like if you're looking to present yourself in the best light, you need to stay consistent and show that you're showing all of your experience and it's current, okay? So that's a big one. Those are some of the, again, right, like we're still working down the list. These are more important pieces to your profile, I believe, as a recruiter, as a consultant. Your skills section is vitally important. You can include up to 50. Let's crop down here. I have 48. But you can include up to 50 different skill sets for you when you're applying to a job, right? And a job meaning a consultant, a business, a individual contributor role, partnership, whatever that looks like, right? People are going to be looking at these skills, and LinkedIn actually uses these to analyze your fit for that company right out of the gate. So if you're applying to a position and you have premium, you may have seen this, if you have premium, LinkedIn Premium, you'll be able to see you have 8 out of 10 skills this job is looking for. You have 10 out of 10 skills, 5 out of 10. This is what it's pulling from. It's going to reference the list that the person who made the job posting had, and it's going to analyze that against your skills and tell you how you're relating, which I think is vitally important as well. The coolest piece about the skill set is that people can actually endorse you. I highly recommend you update your skills, get them current, and then start advertising your things, okay? This is going to build social proof, 100%. This is guaranteed to build you social proof, because all of these are 18 endorsements from people who understand I've done project management with, right? They are they're giving social proof to my profile right now. 24 endorsements for advertising. It'll even highlight significant companies too, right? So it's a great way to help advertise your metrics and what it is that you do, graphic design, right? Technically, you could have these for 48 skills. So try to think about your skill set and how you can advertise those and get people to buy in. One of the other big pieces that I always look for as a Google recruiter, it was vitally important that we always try to find candidates who have licenses and certifications to show, then this was the whole kicker that I had learned, it's not to show the actual license, right? It can, for sure. Like if I'm looking for a Scrum Master or something like that for a niche position, a license could be really important. This, to me, is showing that you're interested in learning, that you're interested in growing, that you're interested in developing as a person. And that, to me, is social proof. You're staying ahead of trends. You're building community and helping people, giving advice on the things that you are an authority in the space on, right? So that, to me, is another vitally important piece. It's establishing your social proof. More important pieces, right beneath those, the skills and the certifications, recommendations, right? Social proof. Again, right? You're taking something away from this event, social proof. These are amazing pieces that you can advertise on your website. You can advertise through support collateral, whatever it is that you're looking for, right? Really easy to do. Just have somebody, just share a link with somebody that you trust, that you've given business to, that you know will give you a good review. It'll populate right here. The more you have here, more ammunition for me as a recruiter to justify your experience, right? This is the social proof. These are no-brainers for me to advertise to my decision maker. Something new that LinkedIn is starting to experiment with is a project section right below the recommendations. I was experimenting with it. It's fine. I, as a marketer and as somebody who follows the 7-11-4 rule, I believe add every avenue and channel you possibly can to get somebody's attention, because you never know where somebody's going to come from, right? So I included a project there, just gave a little background, things like that. This is a link that will kick out to my website where you can read the more in-depth case study, right? Mostly just another lead potential. And then the volunteering section. Again, as a recruiter, I'm looking for an in. I'm looking for a way to talk to you and make a connection with you. If you're doing reach outs or you're trying to establish new connections or something like that, I always like to pull from this because they are passionate about this enough to post it. And if they're current and doing some things there, it could be a great way to break the ice with somebody, right? We're talking about networking, growing relationships, those things. So many people I'm inundated daily will say, hey, I like your work. I think you're great. Here's this thing that I will offer you to solve your problem. That is the coldest, most dead way to try to ask for a connection, right? That's the old way. The new way, to me, invest in the person you're trying to reach out to. Relate to them. Understand what it is that they do, and then find that commonality. That is an easy, easy icebreaker. Just follow the steps, right? You're asking something that is pointed to them so that they will reciprocate, right? You're showing that you're investing. And me, as somebody who is approached by a ton of people, I'm going to just shield everybody that's doing the gross, cold reach outs. And I'm going to focus on the people who are doing the more authentic structure of building relationships, because that is the new way, okay? Okay, this is more 201, 301, all right? I don't know if you've heard of this. This is something relatively new within LinkedIn. Becoming a top voice. Anybody heard of it? Couple? Okay. More 201, 301 stuff. Becoming a top voice can be pretty lucrative, can be pretty cool. It is an invitation only at this point, from what I understand. But when you do become a top content or top voice within LinkedIn, you get this little badge, social proof, right? This is what we're doing, social proof. I blocked out this person. I thought, that I didn't want to give anything away, but they're technically a top content marketing voice. When you can click on this, on their profile, that will open this section right here and explain to you why this person is a valued member of the community, which I think is great. This is social proof, right? This person I blocked out because I think they're kind of hacking the system a little bit, because they are a top voice in a lot of different things. which is great. Like, I fully encourage you, try to break LinkedIn, try to beat them at their own game. This person is essentially creating topics and commenting on all of these things to make them a top voice. And this person, I think, had 500,000 followers, something like that. So it comes with a lot of clout with LinkedIn. Because it's invitation only, it can be a really lucrative thing for anybody to pursue as an individual contributor or business. And essentially that structure that I'm giving you and that foundation will help you get to here, okay? So how do you become a top voice? Again, right? Just do what I say. In this presentation, if you do those things, this will help you get to a top voice profile. One of the biggest things I would say as well, stay informed on top trends, your niche, people in your area, right? One of the things that I didn't highlight that I wanted to show, LinkedIn reevaluates these badges every 60 days. So this person likely has a team that is commenting on all of these different things to make them leaders, right? Which is great. Utilize your resources, right? He's gamifying the system and he's winning and it's working, right? So he has to stay on top of this, right? Every 60 days is a lot. To be a top voice, it's a lot of effort, but again, the rewards are there, right? LinkedIn is building the reward system there. So, number 2, that's related, right? Stay on top. You got to stay on top of all your things. If you want to be a contributor, you want to contribute to those articles and be a top voice, you have to know your stuff, okay? And then follow the energy. This is kind of ambiguous a little bit, but it needs to be, right? Because if you're creating an audience, you have to really cater to your audience. I don't know what that is. We can talk about it, and we could figure out a plan on how you can reach your audience and how you can engage and build. But you have to follow the energy. You have to comment with other people. You have to engage. You have to participate in the stuff. And I'll show you why in a second. But following the energy, to me, is all of these things, right? And then LinkedIn kind of gave me a little surprise to understand I can actually be a top voice. I was invited to contribute to articles. When I click on an article, this little pop-up came to show me that I can be a top voice badge by starting a contribution, right? Then here it is again, as you're scrolling through these articles that LinkedIn AI is populating, you can add your expertise there. And it even kicks out ideas on how you can talk about the different pieces to contribute to an article. LinkedIn is making it, from my perspective, ridiculously easy to try to nurture you in to being a top voice, okay? I don't really know the metrics around this. I don't know what you have to do or anything like that. This just started popping up for me. I know it's relatively new. Maybe it's new for everybody. I'm not sure. But I want you all to be aware of that, okay? That's how you become a top voice right there. Invitation only, right? Invited experts. And then you can start building momentum from there. And then what I learned was really cool. You can there's actually a tier above this. From being a top voice, you can actually get a blue badge from LinkedIn, which means you are like the person, the senior consultant, the senior executive, whatever it is. LinkedIn trusts you to make these decisions. I've seen one blue badge so far. I'm curious if anybody else has. We can talk about that in the Q&A.
Can you tell us who it's for? I know that's a question. But
Who the blue badges are for?
who did you see it on?
It was a woman, and she was a senior C-suite leader that did change management and leadership, and I followed her immediately because I saw the blue badge. But yeah, like massive millions of followers, very big influence on LinkedIn. And I'm not sure the criteria. I know that that's invite only, being a top voice, so I don't even know what you have to do to get a blue badge. I know that LinkedIn invites top voices to their offices to show different things that they're releasing, like this, algorithm changes and things like that. So I imagine it's playing the game, right? Yeah. So algorithm changes in 2023, 301 stuff, right? Like this is if you've built all of the things, you've built the channels, you've built support collateral, you're engaging an audience, right? This is how you're gonna grow. This was about in May that I read this, okay? So one of the first algorithm changes that they're going to be doing, they have shifted so much. They have changed a lot of how they operate within LinkedIn. Their goal is to get 3 billion users as quickly as possible, right? They're at 930 million right now. They want to also create 10,000 years of information on LinkedIn. That is like their mission now. So they're trying to be an information hub for everything professional, okay? Hence the contributing articles, the top voice. They're trying to get people to engage, to produce this information that they will have this huge database and resource for all of things, okay? So how are they doing that? They're focusing on their algorithm in 2023. They're prioritizing and rewarding professional content over general content. You need to be a leader. You need to be a thought leader, producing your own ideas and not just reposting things, okay? Casual content is out. This isn't Facebook, okay? They are prioritizing enhanced visibility from your connections, okay? So a first degree connection is somebody who you have directly connected with. Everybody else is being deprioritized. People who follow your profile, they are also prioritized as well. Everybody, second, third tier connections going by the wayside, okay? Important to think about. Number 3, they're highlighting expert advice and encouraging those meaningful interactions. One word responses, just liking or like supporting the post, not gonna cut it anymore. You need to thoughtfully engage with your peers and the people around you, your audiences. That's how you're gonna succeed. And that's what LinkedIn is telling us to do, okay, through their algorithm. Sharing insights and unique perspectives, right? Again, this is kind of reiterating, but again, very, very important. Insights, unique perspectives. Reposting, kind of going by the wayside, right? So you can't just follow a leader anymore and then just say, I agree, and repost. You have to create your own unique perspective and then repost, okay? And there's all sorts of other little things, right? Like you're supposed to stay around for like an hour so you can engage with people, like that'll boost those kinds of things, right? There's all kinds of little hacks and things like that that you all can learn on your own. This is more like big bucket stuff, okay? Number 5, the collaborative articles, right? So that's how I showed you how you can be a top voice on LinkedIn. This is something new within LinkedIn. And again, they're trying to get people to buy into it. So now is the time if you want to engage and grow with LinkedIn at the beginning. This is how you're going to do it, okay? This is basically the workaround, right? So like they're killing off reposting, right? Or not killing off, but severely downgrading it in their algorithm. The way that you're going to get more views, reach a wider audience, reach new people, is collaborative articles. That's their goal. So they want you to engage with the community. They're promoting these articles so that when you click on them, you can see on the right side, again, right, these are all AI generated articles. They're just trying to get content out. And then they're leaning on the community to verify those articles while building social belief for yourself, right? So sharing your expertise through those collaborative articles is going to be a great way for you to build your audience bigger and wider, hit people that you haven't been able to connect with, okay, and resonate with. And then the final one, I just wanted to throw this in, right? They're categorizing all of this content to be more relevant for people with the power of AI, okay? So you see that theme reoccurring as well, right? AI. Everybody's using it. This is the way that LinkedIn's moving forward. So it's worth it to think about. That is my speech, okay? Reference list, these are all the things that I've talked about. These are all hyperlinked, so you can just click and go and learn about each one of these topics, okay? 100%, like there's no paywalls or anything like that. You just read and go.
We'll be emailing the slide deck. If we can say that.
Yes, thank you. We will be emailing the slide deck to you all, so you'll be able to have this forever, okay? So those are my credits too. I highly suggest even following those things because they post all kinds of relevant things for you to consume. This is, we don't need to go through this, but this is how I wrote my about section, and I wanted to share it with you all as sort of like a template for you all to use if you've never experienced AI or interested in like maybe trying it out a little bit. This is the way, okay? I'm just giving it to you. This is the prompt that I use for the AI software, which basically told it to write an about section using 6 reasons why I'm the best option for my target audience. And then it crafts a short pitch, what my offer is, my target audience using demographics, and then with the following pain points, right? You got to tweak it a little bit for your market, but then what I did was, somewhere in here, my resume, insert your experience. Literally, this is a Google Doc, copied and pasted the text into the AI, right? It kicked out these two pitches. One is very confident, overly cocky, which is the one on my profile page. I actually asked, and I'm doing it for testing to see like if it's actually improving. The secondary pitch, I told AI to like ramp it down. Like let's be a little more modest here. So that's that pitch as well. So you can tell it how to react, and it will react for you. Okay, if you want something more personal and caring, you can tell it to make those adjustments. But that's the quick and dirty on how to get an AI pitch. And again, this is the 7-11-4 rule. I just created this for you all to consume on your own time. This is a hyperlinked button here too that will show you a 2-minute video, I think, on the 7-11-4 rule real quick. Yeah, but this is essentially what it is. 7 hours of content, over 11 touch points on 4 different locations. Okay, 7-11-4. Burn this into your brain, or I did anyway. That's how I built my business. 7 hours of content sounds like a lot. It actually isn't. And you think about, we have smartphones. That moment is actually really easy to attain now. Okay, through 11 different touch points, I always highlight face-to-face because that's obviously the most impactful way to get in front of somebody. Networking, workshops, courses, happy hours, blah, blah, blah. Content is going to be your evergreen place, right? That's why it runs off the page down here. Blogs, case studies, testimonials, guides, emails, newsletters, all of it. That's all of your touch points. And then over 4 different locations, right? So wherever they're going to be interacting with you, social media feeds, signs on your business, right? That's a location. Over the phone, at your mother's house, like wherever it is. If it's natural, right? I want to also be clear about that. If you're at a birthday party and somebody's asking you how you're doing, you're not going to say, "Good, want to hear about my business," right? It needs to be natural and like flow. So that's the only caveat I have there. Okay? Done. Thoughts? Comments? Silence? Yes, Andy. Sorry, and I want to be clear. We're at 10 o'clock already, so I don't want. Sorry.
Oh, this is really good information. Thanks for sharing. I just wanted to share real quick. Like 3 weeks ago or so, LinkedIn approached me with an AI rewritten version of my about section, and I reviewed it, and I was like, actually, that's pretty good.
Really?
Then I said yes.
Wonderful.
So it automatically did it.
Great.
I also have been invited to comment on certain articles.
Mhm.
Like LinkedIn sent me an email.
Mhm.
That's not exactly what you're describing.
It is a form, though, right? I too received those emails.
Yeah.
Say contribute to these top articles.
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
That was
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely. You see what LinkedIn's doing, right? I didn't know that about the using AI.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
It was
I
out of
believe
nowhere.
it.
I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you like all of this. It's showing you where LinkedIn is aiming their guns.
Yeah.
Right? They're leaning all into artificial intelligence. They're trying to build a gigantic database with the least amount of input
Yeah.
and have people verify that. Giving them rewards, right?
Yeah.
Giving you rewards. Hey, try out this AI for our about section. Great.
My
You see where it's going.
My number one question I had from your presentation is how does LinkedIn determine, the business versus the casual, like the AI? Do you know what I'm saying? Like how do they sift and sort through it? Because I think oftentimes, it's both actually. Like there's an event, and you're talking about the networking, or and that can be considered more casual versus like these are the services I provide.
Yeah.
Like just I was curious about that.
Yeah, I love that. I am not sure of the nuances of how they're picking and pulling.
Yeah.
I do know that they are enabling additional barriers, right, to make sure that it is not AI. I don't want to get too techie, but there are a lot of engineers now that are trying to understand how we could pick apart what is real and what is AI.
Yeah.
It's ongoing.
Sure.
I argue with my business lawyer all the time. I have no idea how AI is still around right now because it's completely unregulated and it's a dangerous tool at this point. I want to show you the good that AI can do. To answer your question, Andy, I don't think anybody knows the answer right now. But LinkedIn is making steps to verify that you are a real person, right? One of the ways that I can confirm that is this little checkbox right here, okay? Anybody familiar with the checkbox next to your name? Okay, so a few, great. This is through Clear, which is a background check company that you see at the airport. You see those like federally attached programs, right? This is operated by Clear through LinkedIn. You verify your identity through this. You hold up your mugshot, essentially, with your identification so that it can verify that you're a real person. This is what I would do immediately. My account was hacked probably a month and a half ago. Lost hundreds of followers, lost a lot of different things. Luckily, my profile was intact enough, but this is one of the ways that they're battling.
When I pulled up
Artificial.
your profile, it said you have authenticated or whatever your government ID.
Great, that's exactly it. That's what you'll get right there. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do that. If you have Clear, is there a particular process that I need to do to get it to show up on my LinkedIn page?
That's a great question. I would imagine you could just link your account. Yeah. I used to have Clear. I do not anymore, which is why I imagine why it asked me for my photo. I would, as a consultant, as a business consultant, I would say, why wouldn't Clear integrate that with LinkedIn through their homepage? I'm not sure on that. That's a good question. But I do know that if you go to your profile, you will be able to verify your identity through that little process. And it doesn't take very long. You take the photo, send it out, in a couple days they say you're good. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
So how did you know you were hacked?
I couldn't log in. I received an email. Well, so I went on vacation for about 2 months. I saw an email come through that said an additional email has been added to your profile on LinkedIn. I did not have two-step verification, which is something that I consult clients about all the time. Two-step verification will eradicate that issue. But essentially, I think I think I knew who it was. It was a developer that I had hired a long time ago. They essentially had my credentials to log in my LinkedIn. They signed on, added their email address, which is my trigger to understand that they got into my account. Once they had their email logged in, then they requested a password reset that was sent to their email. Bye-bye profile. It was as simple as that. Two-factor authentication would have immediately eradicated that
What
by
were they
saying,
wanting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
What was the point? What were they wanting?
Just to aggravate.
Yeah, that's what those people do, right? They're just trying to destroy,
But
disrupt.
there's no
Well, they could be
Tangible
imposters.
benefit.
They could act as an imposter.
They did, yes, you're absolutely right. They could post maliciously without my
Sure.
knowledge. They could ask for private information from other people. There's a long tail of what they could do, right? Which is what I was terrified of. Learning this from LinkedIn, they had sent an email to me on how to recover it. I had 14 days to respond. There are no guarantees that anything can be recovered if things are deleted, which was terrifying to me because of my recommendations and everything else that I had worked to build. This was created in 2012, right? So like I've been nurturing this intermittently or, off and on for a very long time. So I was really terrified that they were just going to wipe it, which they easily could have. So there's a lot of things that can happen. Two-factor authentication is one of the first things I would do. If you're going to build something like this, you need to protect it. I now have a password that is unhackable, right? So like symbols and punctuation and all kinds of stuff, right? So those are the ways to prevent your profile from being hacked. I highly recommend it. This is just more social proof, this Clear piece, right? So, yes.
Curious from your own personal perspective that you've spent this much time on, this profile, what % of your business revenue do you feel comes directly from LinkedIn?
That's a great question. I actually stopped because I had developed, right? So like this is the foundation, right? part 2, part 3, Jason, I'd be happy to come back and talk about building that content strategy and building out the calendar for it, right? It's vitally important. You're supposed to post 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes every day, right? I started doing that. When I first started my business about 3 years ago, I took all of my experiences, my case studies, all of those things, and then I was researching how to create a content marketing strategy. I had done this before, 2017, 2018, was growing social channels on Facebook and things like that. LinkedIn is a different beast. But the theory was the same. I created all of my content based on what I wanted to attract as a target audience. I started to post all of those almost every day. Thought leadership, right? I was writing about processes, project management tools, and why they're important, right? I was hitting individual contributors by saying these are the top 5 things on a resume and how to get through an ATS, an automated tracking system, how to break through one of those, right? So I was spaghetti at the wall, and that's my strategy, right? That's how I've experienced success in other parts of my career. Throw things out because you never know what's going to resonate with people. So I was writing about all kinds of things that I thought would be relevant to my audience, including personal stories, because that also establishes social proof and that you're a real person, right? Pictures of my kid, adventures, those kinds of things too. But the majority, I think it is just a metric. I think it's 80% is supposed to be business focused. 20% is theory, fun stuff. You know, I was posting music that I liked. When I was listening, when I'd work, I'd post like, I really liked this song for this, right? I was taking Netflix recommendations. I'd watch an episode and I'd be like, hey, I wonder if somebody else would resonate with this, right? Like the creative process. So post that. And then I'd start testing, right? Like I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. I test all the time. I never stop testing. I test headlines, I test about sections, I test all of those things. It took me about 3 weeks of consistent posting to really see it was pretty much an exponential curve in attention because I was feeding the algorithm, right? I call it feeding the beast. You have to play into their game to be rewarded. So all of that content started to populate in other people's feeds, and then people started coming to me to the point where I had to cut it off because I just didn't have the time. So, and at that point, I had also made a leap in my business to realize that I can actually work with the people that I want to work with too. So it's not about just surviving anymore. It's about being selective about who I want to work with. And that's one of the most beautiful pieces about building this is that when you get all of those things together and you get the right attention and the right direction for people, then those clients automatically start bubbling up, which I thought was fascinating. So I hope that answers your question. It was so successful that I had to stop, and I haven't done it since. So that was my experience. I'd love to hear other people's perspective on that as well, though, for sure. Yeah. What else? Paula, you had a question in the presentation, but I haven't heard you.
Yeah, so I had a question about the skills section.
Yes.
I'm working with somebody who I'm helping look for a job, and you had mentioned that a resume lines up with the experience in,
Yes.
you know, the skills in there from
Yes.
LinkedIn.
Totally.
But what if they're applying to multiple jobs? Are you thinking that someone should change their skills section based on every single job they're trying to apply to?
That's a great question.
That's a lot of work and
Yes. You're absolutely right.
doesn't seem productive.
I am a smarter, not harder worker. I believe that is why they allow 50 skills, right? And you can
Right,
hide.
so like if you say your resume lines up with 5 of the 10 requested skills, is that enough? Like, would you as a recruiter look at that person?
That's a great question. So I see where you're going here. And so this is what I would say, right? There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
I would say the person that you're trying to work with, more needs to be done in the discovery, in that initial meeting, right? What is it that they are looking to do? What are they applying for? Is it a target company? Is it a target title? Is it a target salary? Let's distill down those goals first, and then we'll expand on those. Understanding what they want to do is going to form everything else, right? So if they're looking to break into tech, I'm going to instruct them to go find those people in tech that they want to work with and surround themselves with. If that's a target company, great. Start there, and then let's find that target role that you're looking for in that specific target company, right? So then you go hunt on their profile, you're lurking, and honestly, this is one of the ways that I succeeded a lot as a recruiter as well. You're connecting with them, they see you connect or look at their profile, right? Great, send them a connection. They don't have to answer, but say, hey, I really appreciate your experience. I am starting to target these companies, and I really appreciated your experience and background. Would love to connect and learn more from you, right? And then you can see their skills, see what they're doing, why are they successful in that business, and then take it to the candidate, right? And this is a big one, right? I have to say it. You're not plagiarizing, right? But you're doing research. You're looking at a wide range of people who do the thing that you want to do, and you're honing your profile to encapsulate your skill sets based on what the market is looking for,
Yeah.
right?
And as a candidate, though, you know, not, like, even if it's within one industry or one type of job, every job uses different ways to describe the
Yes,
skills.
for
so
sure.
It doesn't always match up.
That's just a crapshoot, right? Like there is no consistency for recruiters, for human resources to post a job, right? There's no LinkedIn standard, right? So it is a little bit about playing the game, right? You have to just, and again, right? This is research. Look at the different jobs too, right? And then you get to a certain point where where you start looking at the job description, you're like, what are they talking? Like they're looking for a unicorn, right? This person doesn't exist, or they're looking for, they don't really, like you can see they're mashing two job descriptions together or like whatever it is, right? And it's no fault of their own. I was a recruiter. You're inundated all the time, right? There's always things coming at you. You're not going to be able to respond to everybody. You're not going to be able to do everything that you need to do.
Yeah.
You have about, this is a real statistic, you have about 8 seconds to convince somebody why they need you for what you do. How do you want to spend those 8 seconds, right? So to me, it's about selling the story of why they need you. And to do that, you're just taking market research and you're elevating your profile above the market. That's essentially what you're doing, right?
I can also offer, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and if anyone has the wherewithal within them, is to use video and images of yourself.
Totally.
Really help elevate the number of eyeballs on your post.
Yeah.
So anything that's educational and you put a picture of yourself
Yeah.
on it
That was
will help skyrocket your stuff.
Totally.
And in order for people to get to understand you and your spirit, video, if you want to go down that road, is also really powerful.
totally. I absolutely agree. I would say that's more of like a part 2,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like a content. Yeah.
3.0 or whatever.
But I absolutely agree with you. There's also like that we're scratching the surface, right? Paula can attest. This is literally top level, like high level things. If you want to get down to the nitty gritty of the algorithm, like that, I mean, you could attach specific metrics to that, right? Like
Yeah.
adding a personal photo will boost your post 30%, right? Like that's a stat I know. Video is even higher, right? You have higher engagement, you have higher, all of those things. That's the algorithm talking. To me, that ain't me, right? So like
Exactly. You
yeah.
have to align it with yourself.
Right. And that's what's really important about authenticity, right? Like, I love these situations and things like this. I'm terrified to put things out on the internet like that. I don't want to put video out there. I don't want to do, this is our 5th iteration. This is our first videographer, right? Like, I have really bad imposter syndrome. I'm trying to overcome that through experience, right? Again, which is a whole nother part of that process, right? Like, it's my company motto is try hard stuff, get reps, get paid. That's the model, right? You do things that are hard because people don't like hard things. you figure out how to do it through reps and get good at it, that will get you paid. That's what you're trying to do. You're breaking out from the ocean of people that are doing their 9 to 5, and you're doing your own thing and proving that you are an authority in the space by doing it. Right? Yeah, Kate.
One last question for you. So just kind of talking about, that imposter syndrome that you feel when posting online. With that, how do you create that consistency of posting 2 to 4 times a week
Love
and
it.
not running out of content or those ideas? How do you keep it fresh and not kind of like psych yourself out in the moment if like
Totally. Yeah. Andy and I were talking about this a little bit up there. Reps. I have changed my mindset. And again, right, like I'm a big fan of human psychology. I'm a big fan of understanding why. One of the things that I've been really heavily getting myself into is trying to overcome that. My career has been imposter syndrome throughout. I have followed leaders and people, influencers, especially on LinkedIn, that post things that help me keep going. And that's a part of building your community too, right? You want to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that are doing the things you're doing. So what I did, started following those people. Justin Welsh is a great person to follow about that. I was essentially following entrepreneurs, right, who had already made it, and then who are gifting the process back to people like me, right? This is what I believe. Again, this is the new rule. You're giving value over and over and over to people, knowing that it's going to come back to you, right? That's how I've built my business. Everybody I was following in those leadership spaces and in those higher thought leader categories, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, up until recently, Bezos, right? Like all of these really influential people. Always, like there was one quote specifically that said, if you're on your deathbed, this is grim, but if you're on your deathbed and you're looking back at your life, do you want to question what you didn't accomplish but knew you could have had the opportunity to try? Right? So like that to me was like a heavy dose of like, oh man, like I would love to see where this is going to go. And you have to jump off the cliff, right? And it's extremely hard, right? I'm not doing video. I'm not doing the things that I know LinkedIn will favor because I have that imposter syndrome. Dave Chappelle, again, somebody I follow on LinkedIn. Well, excuse me, he's not on LinkedIn. Somebody had posted about Dave Chappelle in a story. He had said in an interview, people were asking him like, how did you start doing like $40 million Netflix releases and stuff like that, right? He said, essentially getting reps. He sucked at the beginning. He was doing stand-up. He was awful. He talked about how he got booed off of stage because he was so bad at telling jokes. But he didn't quit. And he just kept doing. He kept iterating. He kept testing. He kept getting reps. And now he's Dave Chappelle. Individual contributor to entrepreneur is the leap. That's the big leap. That's thought leadership. That's the things that are going to help you stand out in whatever it is, right? So push, get reps.
Can I just share one thing I
Please.
learned when I jumped into this a couple of years ago? A coach that I was using, he told me, like, you can set things up where you can grab things that interest you and put them in a list that this is content ideas, right? And then maybe I'll find something supportive of that idea and move it over to the next column, which is content creation. I start writing it. Or I block out hours where I'm literally just writing and I have my coffee, I got the fire going, I'm comfortable, I got the dogs around me, and I just set myself up to just write and not be distracted with other things. But I keep this organized in an app called Trello. It's a free app. You could use Notes.
It's a project management tool.
Yeah, you
I
can
like
use
great.
Notes, you can use anything, and they took it to the extent where people were out going for a walk or a run and they'd have an Apple shortcut. Oh, here, let's create a piece on this topic that pop in their head while they're out exercising.
Mhm.
There's a way to capture these thoughts and keep them there and kind of incubate them and then develop them and move them along in that project management process.
Totally. Yeah. And again, right, 2.0, 3.0 talks, right? That's more of the strategy, content building. To piggyback off of what Andy is saying, that is how you build the creative process too. You establish a routine, and this is human psychology, right? Like therapists talk about this. You build a routine so that if you need to be creative or you need to do X, build yourself an environment to enable you to trigger in your brain, when I sit down at this desk at this time, this is what I need to do for a half hour, right? Time block. Just you figure out how it's going to work. You build that strategy, you build that process, you repeat that process, and then eventually you burn it in your brain. It changes your mindset. And one of the most fascinating things I've been learning about in human psychology is how we're discovering we can actually change portions of our brain, like literally change who we are as we evolve. And you can change to be creative. You can change to be a thought leader. You can change to create content. All of those things are absolutely possible with process and with grinding.
And what
There's a
you
lot of
said
grinding.
though is most important, is you just gotta do it.
You gotta do
be
it. That's
consistent.
grind.
I mean, it's
Yep.
not easy.
I'm never done learning. Big secret, never done learning, right?